Hi, welcome everyone to the stage where stories come to life and emotions run deep. It's time to dim the lights, raise the curtain, and tune into the captivating world of In a Swank Way.
Thanks, Raghav, for introducing. Let me introduce you to Mr. Raghav. He's a very passionate acting coach and he runs his company called the Actors Craft India. He's helping a lot of struggling or maybe actors who wants to learn some techniques, and he's specializing in Meisner Technique, right? And I would like you to tell us something about you.
Yes. Now, first, I tell people that don't be a struggling actor,
Yes.
be a working actor. So I like to work with working actors. I very briefly, I'm from Delhi. I had a science background. I'm a medical school dropout, so I joined medical school, and under pressure from my parents initially, and then 1 year into it, I realized that this is not for me. And at the right time, I dropped out. I applied to a school called Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute, New York. Luckily, my visa got rejected.
Okay.
I say luckily because I wouldn't have stumbled onto Meisner if I would have gone to study there. And when I was studying with Mr. Barryjohn in Mumbai, and I stumbled onto my Meisner Technique.
Okay.
And I realized that this is what I wanted to do. I went to William Esper Studio later on. When I had first contacted them, they said that we don't accept international students for 1 year.
Okay.
If you want, you have to do 2 years course because half knowledge is dangerous. So I was not really thinking about doing a 2-year course there with the finances involved. But then when I realized, I had a breakthrough moment, and I realized that I really wanted to study Meisner. So I ended up going there for 2 years. I lived in New York, and I studied quite intensively. It was a full-time program. So I had acting class, movement class, voice and speech and everything. And I came back in 2013.
Okay.
I started teaching almost immediately, out by chance. It was not planned. I had never thought of teaching as a profession. But I realized that I had a knack for it. My mentors here encouraged me to take up teaching. And eventually I did start teaching as a way of paying the rent. I started my own company, The Actors Craft, in 2017. It's now 6 years old. I've had the fortune of building a community where actors can feel safe. So creating a safe environment is very important for me, is an important value for me, where actors can feel supported. Because a lot of times I felt actors in Mumbai are either lacking the knowledge, because everybody's not, I was very lucky. Not everybody is lucky to go to New York and study for 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
And have access to that kind of knowledge. And so they are a lot of times trying their luck. Second thing I realized is that actors don't have a community, or they don't feel that they have a seat on the table.
Okay.
It becomes very hard just to get an opportunity to act, even in a theatre group. And so luckily we don't have that problem, and I have a community where people really look after each other. They don't hide from each other that I have this audition or that audition. So many times a lot of our actors are auditioning for the same part.
Okay.
And they still help each other out
Right.
to give the best shot. And I'm extremely proud about that, very glad. And then they have this platform called Scenes from Plays, where they can keep performing even after the workshop.
Okay.
Every 2 months, and really practice. So when they wake up in the morning, it's not like, what do I do today? A lot of times actors' daily routine is about going to the gym, shopping, watching a good film.
Yeah, eating healthy food.
Yeah, and watching a good film, and all of that is important. We are not dismissing that, but at least they can work 3 to 4 hours on their craft. Even just practicing the basic exercise that we have can take us a long way. Like in the lockdown, I remember we were just practicing this basic exercise, which is repetition.
Okay.
And it helped me so much because I was shooting right after the second lockdown. And I remember it helped me a lot. I was shooting this film with Ritesh Deshmukh, and he improvised something in a scene. And luckily, because I was in practice, I heard and I reacted without even knowing about it. It was not conscious.
Okay.
But had I been out of practice, that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it always helps to be in, have that community of actors where you can do that,
Nice.
and you can return to.
And today we are going to actually talk about the magic of this acting world. So let's start.
Yeah.
So Raghav, as an actor, everyone faces challenges to build their own craft. तो इसके बारे में आपका क्या thought process है?
Yeah, we need to start like take it step by step. First challenge रहता है कि can we be in the moment and can we really listen to the other actor? Because a lot of times our focus is on ourselves when we are in front of the camera. या फिर हम अगली लाइन सोच रहे होते हैं कि हमें क्या बोलना है. So then we end up becoming too judgmental or self-conscious. So that is one very early challenge that we face in the technique, that how to put my focus on the other actor. Another big challenge for an actor is to find their unique voice, their unique point of view. I mean, अगर मुझे शाहरुख खान ही बनना है तो there is already a Shahrukh Khan and he has done so many films, so people can watch him. So how to find that uniqueness? That's a very, very big step in your discovery. I think the courage, next challenge can be courage to be vulnerable in front of people, because that's what an actor gets paid for.
Right.
I mean, our job is to really bare ourselves open in front of an audience. And sometimes there is a crew of 100 people and we have to reveal ourselves. So these are some of the challenges. And then obviously finding precision and specificity in your work, a lot of detailing. Because daydreaming we are doing all our lives. My work is based on daydreaming a lot. So daydreaming we have been doing since childhood, but we have to find precision in that. And I think one of the major challenges of any artist, of any art form, is precision. And also then execution. Because like luck से तो कोई भी अच्छा audition दे सकता है. आप एक अच्छा audition luck से बना सकते हो.
Right.
But can you give a good audition at 2 o'clock on Tuesday? So that comes with practice, and that comes with a good command on your craft.
So what is the need of being an actor in today's life? Lot of them, I mean, we are scrolling Instagrams also.
Yeah.
बहुत सारे reels आते हैं, बहुत सारे self-proclaimed actors है, okay? But what is that one key aspect where they should understand कि अच्छा this will help me become a better actor in front of camera?
Well, if they want to seriously perform in web shows and films, हम उसकी बात करते हैं. I think one tricky thing is कि what differs in acting as compared to other art forms like say singing or dancing is that you can't spot the genius.
Right.
Like if I look at a master singer, somebody who's a master at it, I can spot the genius. Dance में भी I can tell कि यार वो वाला step जो किया वो बहुत कमाल था.
Right. It is more about technique that you can pick up.
Yeah, I mean you can see if somebody is a master singer, and you can appreciate their mastery of their craft. Okay. But in acting, it doesn't work that way. If a genius actor acts, it is so lifelike, like Irfan Saab, that it looks almost like effortless, right? And so it looks easy. And so a lot of people can be like, हाँ ये तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ, और इसके पैसे भी मिलते हैं, इसका फेम भी मिल जाएगा, ये तो कमाल है, ये चीज़ तो मुझे करनी चाहिए, मम्मी मैं जा रहा हूँ मुंबई, right? So that can happen, and that almost happens with everybody.
Right.
At the age of 18, 19, if you're starting or you think of becoming an actor at say 16 or 20, you cannot appreciate at that point कि उसमें कितना hard work लगेगा.
Right.
And there is a sort of escapism also, right? So हम लोग पढ़ाई से तो भागना ही चाहते हैं, तो काफ़ी लोग ये समझ नहीं पाते कि एक्टिंग में भी पढ़ाई है काफ़ी. And I think that's a challenging part, because if you have to be good at it, you have to work really hard.
That was a good point कि उनको actual में नहीं पता रहता है कि in acting there is a need to study also.
Yeah. And then you can only hope that your reasons are right. because that's what will keep you persevering.
Right.
Because if your reasons are fame, money, then you will realize very quickly that acting has nothing to do with that. Those are just byproducts.
Right.
Fame, money, glamour are not even byproducts.
Majority
actually.
of them are fascinated because of this.
Yeah. So if your reasons are right, what kind can be the right reasons? If you genuinely love telling stories, if you genuinely love playing make believe, if you like exploring characters, if you want to understand human psychology, अगर ये reasons हैं यहाँ पर curiosity है, then I think it becomes easier eventually.
Right. And I think somewhere acting is more than real life.
Yeah, of course, it's heightened reality.
Heightened reality.
Yeah, nobody wants to come and see reality. Because if I show you a scene where I'm sleeping, there is a film like that. Andy Warhol made a film sleeping. 5 hours, somebody is sleeping. Nobody is going to pay to watch it, right? So it's heightened reality.
Right.
And that requires work. And so, yeah, so you can hope that your reasons are good. So then you, फिर तुम मन लगा के पढ़ाई करते हो, मन लगा के सीखते हो क्राफ्ट को. And then you hope with time, of course, everything takes time, you become effortless. You become good eventually.
Also, just now we spoke about the courage, right? So it is not easy.
Yeah.
मतलब जो जितना easy दिखता है screen पे, it is not that easy. And breaking your own boundaries, हर कोई अलग-अलग अपने childhood trauma से आता है, एक surrounding से आता है, their family background, social background, and then coming to a scene where the character is given. It is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
So in that, how do you help them?
See, firstly, we start not with character work. So that's one thing that, because this is our instrument. So first we have to understand our instrument. So my initial training is always about knowing yourself really well. And that requires even, say, like having a therapist in your team.
Okay.
I think I have been going to therapy for quite regularly now for some time, and I also encourage my actors to get therapy, because our job is to understand ourselves really well.
Right.
And if you haven't done that, then it's not easy to understand our character's psyche and stuff like that. So if we don't know why did I ghost that person, why did I not return that call, or why did I procrastinate that one thing that I have to do, or why do I feel so strongly about gender equality, for example, or injustice. So finding answers to that about yourself can be a good first step into getting into work.
Right. And also, it is very difficult to distinguish between what you are and what that character is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people often get confused कि हाँ मैं ऐसा feel कर लूँगा तो ऐसा बन जाऊँगा.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why so much focus on knowing yourself and your impulses really well, so that you know where you have to take that leap.
Right.
Like I give an example a lot of a scene that I was doing where this girl, I'm breaking up with this girl and she's crying, and my impulse can be to take care of her. And this was a very advanced scene, and my teacher kept saying, don't take care of her, don't take care of her. So much so that like मैं कॉरिडोर में चल रहा होता था तो मुझे कॉरिडोर में बोलते राघव डोंट टेक केयर ऑफ हर. तो वो इतना बैठ गया मेरे दिमाग में that moment came in the scene, and this girl, fabulous actor, she was playing drunk also. Of course she was not really drunk, and she fell down and she held my leg. She's crying, real tears, and I looked at her, and in the moment my impulse, Raghav's impulse, is to pick her up, put her on the bed, समझाऊंगा उसको शायद जो भी है, but that's not my character's impulse. So I have to elevate myself.
Right.
I can't bring the character down to myself, right? A lot of actors intellectualize, why will I do this, why will my character do that? I don't encourage those kind of questions.
Okay.
That's the leap that you have to take. And so my character is like, take care of yourself यार. मेरा ऐसा था scene उसमें. घर चली जा अपने, कुछ भी करना, जो भी करना कर.
Okay.
I have to go. So I had to make that jump. That's this person that I'm playing is not me, and that's very interesting. But it comes much later on.
Right. Switching on and off.
Yeah, and understanding how this person is different from me.
So that was a really good point. there is a difference between what you actually are, or maybe how you feel about that particular character, and how that character is in that particular scene, or maybe
Yeah,
that
of course.
situation.
Yeah.
So once I think you understand that, then maybe it will be easy for.
And you empathize, obviously, because I can have a certain point of view that can be my judgment, but a good actor should never judge their character.
Right.
Because nobody is a hero, nobody is a villain actually. Nobody is a villain in their eyes. We are all heroes in our own story. जो हमारे दिमाग में story है उसमें तो हम hero
Of course.
Yeah. So never judge your own character. That's very, very important.
So just now we were discussing about some techniques for an actor, right? And you are specializing in Meisner Technique, the way you teaching your student. तो आप बताओ इस technique के बारे में.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, the importance of a technique is paramount because it just makes you come across as a professional actor. I have not met a lot of say, I will not meet a dentist or an architect who have a hit or miss technique. Can you imagine going to a dentist जिसका hit or miss हो? वैसा नहीं होगा, right? कि यार ये challenge तो मैंने कभी face नहीं किया. And that's why they go through a 4-year process just to get a bachelor's degree. Acting के अंदर मैंने बहुत notice किया कि थोड़ा सा कि chance, lack of preparation. Because a lot of people believe that spontaneity comes from lack of preparation. And I believe in the opposite. That's what my teachers believe in, that spontaneity comes with a lot of preparation and then letting it go.
Okay.
So it comes with a lot of preparation and then letting it go instead of the other way around. And so a lot of people have a hit or miss technique. I don't know how to approach this text or not. So ultimately, as an actor, we need a technique which is strong, and it's not by chance. Things are not happening by chance. So whatever text I get, I can turn that into behavior.
Right. It's like a toolkit that you pick up what is best for that particular
situation. That I have a toolkit and I can turn this text, whatever text I'm given, whichever director I'm working with, writing styles can be very different. I can identify my challenges and I can turn that into behavior which is authentic, number one, and then number two is interesting and engaging.
Right.
So that's the basic technique that you need to build for yourself. कि by chance चीजें नहीं हो रही. What I love about Meisner is that he identified that he was a pianist. Meisner was a pianist. So he used to practice scales.
Okay.
But obviously people never perform scales. They perform full music, right? And so Meisner identified that actors need to have a certain exercise which they can practice, which can help them in the scene.
Okay.
So he came up with this amazing exercise which is called repetition exercise, which really helps you in getting out of your head, putting the focus on the other person, being honest, because in life we cannot always be honest.
Right.
You just have to be politically correct so many times. And so training that muscle of following your impulse. In life I can't follow impulses. So as an actor I need to first identify my impulses, follow them, and it has a very step-by-step thing. That's another thing I really like about Meisner, that it has a lot of structure. So once we identify what are my impulses, what are my truthful impulses, and we get out of our head, then I can go into putting my focus on another person, and then we add an object which is called an independent activity.
Okay.
Where we are doing something which requires our 100% concentration.
Okay.
And what that does is that if my mind is involved there, I can be honest with you.
Right.
And then we go into imagination, which is like a whole new world. We go with daydreaming and we have to justify why we are doing something. So say I'm solving a Rubik's Cube. Now I have to make this important.
Okay.
So every day you're solving an acting problem in a way, because you are making something important for you. And ultimately when we get a script, the writer might have written something which is important for the character, but it's not important for me.
Okay.
So how do I make this important for me? That requires my imagination.
Okay.
And so we go into daydreaming. We try to identify our hotspots. We identify our defense mechanisms. That's another thing that actors need to identify very early on. What are their defense mechanisms?
Right.
Because defense mechanisms hinder us from being honest. Like some people like smile a lot. Some people are always like smiley, even when they don't feel like smiling.
Okay.
That can be a defense mechanism. Retaliation is also a defense mechanism. All these things prevent us from taking anything that has been said to us in.
Okay.
And actors need to react. For that, they need to take everything in. So identifying your defense mechanisms and then identifying what are your hotspots. What are the things that matter to you? A hotspot can be any person who is close to you, or a pet, or a grandparent, your sister.
Okay.
Also, hotspots can be like injustice, loneliness, things like that. So, really knowing yourself very well, so that you know, okay, where do I have to go in my imagination for me to make this important for me?
Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, and it's really a deep dive into yourself.
Because when we look at a bigger picture, we never think of कि इतना सारा सब पीछे hard work करना पड़ता है.
Yeah. For one line, sometimes I'm thinking about for like 30 minutes.
Right. And I've also heard a lot of times कि एक character के पीछे बहुत सारा preparations होता है, right? So any examples that you would like to share, like, which was really challenging for you, or maybe you have seen someone?
Yeah, that depends, on the part. There are some parts which are quite easy, where you can relate to. Even if it's not exactly the same. Like I had to audition for a big part. It's an Australian film where the guy is going through a situation where he's coming out to his wife. He's basically saying that we've been together for 8 years. They were dating and then they got married, and he has to say that I'm not attracted to girls. I'm actually gay.
Okay.
Now that was not my reality, but while auditioning, I could get there quite easily, in terms of I could understand his challenge. Even though that's not who I am. So that was not very challenging. I found out that that's not very challenging because I could empathize.
Okay.
That he's at a crossroads, and that kind of a conflict. But say there was a character where we adapted, and this is a play called Same Time Next Year. Even while adapting the play, in the very first scene he says something like, my favorite book is Catcher in the Rye.
Okay.
And for some reason I thought we shouldn't change this reference, even though a lot of people in India will not know Catcher in the Rye, but let's not change this reference. And then later on I started reading the book, and I started understanding. And when I spoke to my mentor in America, after having read the book, I realized that it was vital. That was my breakthrough, because I realized that if somebody is an adult and their favorite book is Catcher in the Rye, they are kind of stuck in adolescence.
Okay.
They're stuck in adolescence, and the duality in the character came from I think his name is Barry Holden, his character.
Okay.
It's a book that they will never release for films. The writer has so nobody can make a film on it. Okay. But all the Hollywood actors want to play that character. It's that complex a character. But that was my breakthrough. And then I got a lot of different, I got the mantra for my character. That I got from George Costanza in Seinfeld. Have you seen Seinfeld?
No.
It's a sitcom, and he has a line that I lie because I can. So I lie because I can. So that became the mantra for my character. I was like, okay, this is a good way. So there can be a lot of different preparation. Sometimes it can be music. I was auditioning recently for a character who's a lot into Urdu poetry.
Okay.
So just reading and listening to that kind of music helped a lot. Just a romantic view on life. I was recently gave an audition where I had to do Haryanvi dialect.
Achha.
So that requires its own research. So I spoke to a few people, changed my lines, Um, but the crux of my work is on point of view. If I can understand someone's worldview and their point of view about a certain thing, then it helps. So it also helps if, as an actor, you go and meet people and you talk to people from different walks of life.
Right.
Because हम लोग यहाँ मुंबई में जीते हैं, हमारी एक तरीके की लाइफ है. So we are also quite in a bubble. And going and meeting people helps a lot, because you understand how they are different.
Right. And
So-
how their lives.
How their life is different. Yeah. And ultimately, it's so important, because also, like, something that I am trying to also shift in my mindset is that as an actor, if you want to be an actor because you want that appreciation, everybody wants appreciation at the end of the day. But if that's the only reason कि मुझे acting करनी है because कोई बोले यार वाह क्या acting की है, then the problem with that mindset is that you are putting yourself above the people.
Right.
And then they will never love you. They can revere you, but if your reason is right, if your reason is something like this, I am telling stories and I am playing this character, so that the audience which are looking at my work, they don't think that I am great. They realize that they are great in their life, that they are heroes. If I can do that, then that change in mindset is something that I would really love to have.
Right.
Where I show up to work not for like, whoa,
Not to impress.
let's show them, let's impress people. And for that to happen, I think a good understanding of people and how everybody is having some great struggles and battles in everyday life. Sometimes it's inside now. Now the battles are also inside.
Right.
As things are changing, the battles outside are, I think, becoming lesser.
Right.
The battles inside are becoming harder. But yeah, how people are managing all that and really growing.
I was actually going to ask you about that also, because as an actor, we have seen a lot of people are having a lot of mental issues. I mean, mental health issues, not
Yes.
mental issues.
Yes.
It is very difficult because the job role is really challenging.
Yes.
You have to go at any point of time, or maybe sometimes you do not get your personal space also,
Yeah.
and it affects somewhere. So how do you balance it?
Yeah, in my technique, there is a clear demarcation that work ends when work ends. So we don't take it to home. And the good thing about imagination is that it's very healthy. So we have been daydreaming all our lives, and so we can switch on, switch off.
Okay.
I mean, initially it does happen. The first time I had a breakthrough moment where I imagined something and I cried. I was not even planning to cry on stage. But that stayed for about, I was in that zone for about 15-20 minutes. And I was like, oh, I just can't stop crying. That was the first time. But now it's very normal. Like even within the scene, I can make myself cry. And the good thing is that it's very healthy. I'm not abusing myself. So we don't use memories. We don't use our actual memories. We only use imagination. Even the people, even Lee Strasberg, for that matter, later on in his life, he turned towards imagination.
Okay.
In the beginning, there was a lot of emotional memory, sense memory, but later on, it has also turned towards imagination.
Right.
So our work is very healthy. I love what Joaquin Phoenix says. There is an interview where somebody asks him about playing Joker, and they say, what about? The interviewer asks him, what about the mental strain and the physical challenge? And Joaquin says, what mental strain? There is no mental strain. And he says, really, it's very important to break this bubble, this mystery or myth about acting. He says, I look at an image, I felt something, and I have an imagination and I have an emotional reaction, and then I go for lunch.
Okay.
So yeah, so even like I had a scene recently in Ghar Wapsi where the scene starts with me crying because my character has lost their job, and they are somebody who has a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, person like that has lost his job. So I'm crying. And yeah, if you have the right technique, and now I've been fortunate enough to have been practicing this for 10 years, you get a certain hold on your technique. And I have 3 or 4 images that I have prepared for the day. And before the first take, I was a little focused in the sense that yes, I need my time. I'll put on headphones. I'll not talk to a lot of people. But yeah, ultimately, I just need 30 or 40 seconds to prepare and get myself to that emotion that fits that. And then I walk, I do the scene. And then after the scene, you'll see me, I'm chilling, I'm sitting, hi, because I'm relaxed. And then when they say, we are ready for the shot, again, I'll ask them for 30 or 40 seconds. I'll get myself prepared. So ultimately, you want to reach this kind of a place.
Right.
So there is nothing unhealthy about it.
Because there is a perception of people कि हाँ मतलब अगर मुझे scene में रोना है, then I have to imagine someone is dying or similar to that situation which is really close. Like it is real. I mean, how many times you can go back to the same situation?
Well, you can imagine that, and we do that also. We do imagine deaths, but not something that's happened in real life.
हाँ, that's what I'm saying. People try to relate with their own, their real life.
Yeah, that's when problems can happen, because if you have some traumas in your life which are not sorted out. Like I had a student once working in my class, and she did a scene, an improvisation, which she only had imagined. And there was no emotion. And then I asked her, what is the story? She was doing something. And she told me, this is the story, my brother has died in an accident and this and that. And she had zero emotion. And I was like, okay, is it real? And she said, yeah, 1 year back, my real brother died in a real car accident. I said, no, we don't get that in class. We don't do that in class. For that, you have therapy. You get closure over there. And a lot of people have this problem, and even when they used to teach method in Strasbourg and they used to use real memories, it was 7 years or older.
Okay.
Not like something which has happened 1 year back or 2 years back or few months back. A lot of people miss this. They start using things which have happened like 2 months back.
And you're only touching your wounds again and again.
Yeah. And they'll stop working also after a while. With imagination, what I've discovered, which I discovered I think 5-6 years into my work, is that if an image stops working for me, like if I have a certain imagination, I can keep adding stuff, subtracting, and I'm also changing and I'm also changing as a person. So it's a very easy, it's a renewable source. I can keep making changes.
If you don't like it, just eliminate.
Yeah. This happened with me. I had an image, a very strong image. I don't share my daydreams, we shouldn't as an actor, but I had a strong image and I was using it till 2016. And then I realized it stopped working for me.
Okay.
So for 3-4 years, I forgot about it. And then in 2019, I was doing a play and I was like, oh, wo bhi tha kahin pe yaar,
let's use it.
Will it work? And it worked.
Oh.
And I used it just for that one show. And I have not used that since also. So with imagination, that's a good thing.
Right.
That you never the image doesn't lose its power, because we can keep adding new elements to it. And a song can be a good image also. Like it can be a song, a poetry, or a movie. The preparation can come from anywhere. Right. I was doing once a scene from Julius Caesar. Mm-hmm. So I realized that I'm not relating to it. हमने कभी वॉर किया नहीं, हम कभी लड़े नहीं. कैसियस ब्रूटस का सीन है, उसके स्टेक्स हम कहाँ से समझेंगे? So I realized that before the last time I had to do the part, and then I was like, okay, I have to prepare for this. So I watched Gladiator. Mm-hmm. वहाँ से मुझे कुछ imagination मिली. I was like, okay, this is my gateway. Mm-hmm. Into what the character is feeling, what Cassius is also feeling. Gladiator, there is a scene where he comes back and he sees his wife hanging. He's not seen his wife for a long time. So I realized that for the first time about my character. Like you were asking, how do you prepare for a character? When I realized that Cassius, इन लोगों ने जूलियस सीजर को मारा, ये भाग गए हैं और तब से वॉर चल रहा है, तो 2 साल से इन्होंने भी अपनी फैमिली को देखा नहीं है. Right. And then I found a connection कि मैं भी US में था 10 महीने से, I have not seen my family. Of course, stakes are not the same.
But for you, it might.
But I can make them.
I can heighten.
I can heighten the stakes from this point. So that was, and then I used the music from Gladiator, and I prepared for that scene. But then I could do the scene because वो scene बहुत challenging था. I have to enter with 10 emotion, 10 out of 10, and I have to go up from there.
Wow.
वो बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था मेरे लिए.
So that was really insightful, Raghav. And keeping that in mind, fear is also one of the factors which affects actors' life, like any other person. So what are the common fears that they face, or maybe anxieties, and are there any tips that you can suggest to overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of fears. One is fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of success, fear of change. I think these are the four. Fear of failure will never go. I think the fear of failure, you just get better at managing fear of failure.
Okay.
It never goes away. And that's good also. I don't mind it. I don't mind if somebody wants to do well, but if there's a tipping point, if it becomes so important for you that I have to succeed, then it becomes a problem. So what we do in our rehearsal sometimes is that we tell people to do bad acting.
Okay.
Like we do rehearsals where we have to act badly.
Okay.
So when we do that, the desire to do good work goes away and they start having fun. Because if you're not having fun in your acting work, then audience will never not have fun.
That's nice.
So fear of failure is something I think which just keeps increasing. Because say if I'm acting with Amitabh Bachchan, who has more fear of failure? Who has more at stake?
Of course, you.
No, I think he has more at stake.
Because he's acting with you.
No, because he has a bigger reputation, right? To hold, or of course he's better at managing that fear. But nobody knows me.
Okay.
So I have nothing at stake in that sense. Nobody thinks I'm a great actor. You get my point?
Got it. That burden, or maybe that stress of.
Yeah, that stress of failure is not on me at all. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
So that's my point. But yes, whatever fear of failure I have, he is better at managing it, and that comes with time. If you have a solid technique, you also will have a solid process. Like I have a process of where I'll do movement. Like we met in movement class.
Right.
The movement is very important for me. So even on set, if I have 3 or 4 hours to wait, it very rarely happens that I'm just sitting in my vanity like that. I'll have music, I'll move. If it's a nice sunny day, I'll step out of the vanity. Vanity gets cold.
Right.
I step out and I'm dancing over there. I don't care who's watching. But it's just that I'm in my body. So that's my way of, dealing with fear of failure. And I tell myself that I want to fail today. Because when you fail is when you learn. The day you succeed, you don't learn anything.
Of course.
Because you're so much like, wow, I succeeded today. So that's fear of failure. Fear of rejection, there is a very nice thing, something called rejection therapy.
Okay.
If you Google it, you'll find it's amazing. It's an amazing technique which I make my students do also. The idea is you go out there and get rejected, and that's how you get out of it. So that's the whole idea. So say we gave people these assignments. One assignment was ऑटो वाले के पास जाना है, उसको बोलना है कि आप मुझे यहाँ से यहाँ तक छोड़ दो, मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है, लेकिन मैं स्टोरी सुनाऊंगा आपको.
Okay.
And you will not believe how many people actually failed in the task that they मतलब succeed हो गए. उनको reject होना था ना, वो reject नहीं हुए. Because मुंबई में
I will tell you my story. मतलब it is relevant because ये ऑटो वाले का है. तो एक बार ना genuinely I forgot my wallet. So I thought कि I'll just get down and come back. So I just told him कि ना भाई मेरा wallet नहीं है, मुझे छोड़ना, आप मुझे उतरना. अरे कोई नहीं, आप पैसा मत दो, मैं छोड़ दूंगा.
Yeah, मुंबई में बहुत होता है सर. So they kind of failed in that because they had to get rejected. So second time हमने और मुश्किल किया. हमने कहा सबवे जाना है, सबवे में उनको बोलना है कि can we come behind the counter, can we make our own sub.
Okay.
That's against the policy. But so we all got rejected. That was good. Even I tried. That was good. But one person succeeded.
Oh.
Yeah. So she succeeded in that. She made her own sub. Then we said beach पे जाना है.
But failed in fact.
Yeah, she failed.
Okay.
Because she had to get rejected. हमको बीच पे जाना है, किसी को बोलना है अपने मैं जूते लाना भूल गया, but मैं रनिंग के लिए आया था. Can I get your shoes? I'll just run 100 meters and come back. हम जुहू बीच पे गए, and you will not believe how many people gave us their shoes.
I mean, that is the beauty of Mumbai actually.
Yeah, and you will realize this, that it's just a matter of asking so many times. But yes, it really goes away. When I started, I was terrified of auditions in the beginning. But now it's like, it's so easy, like you don't even think about it. So fear of rejection is a huge deal that you have to overcome. But it does become much easier. Fear of success, that's also a big fear, because you have to work very hard.
Okay.
And your life changes. You cannot have the same habits. People have fear of change also.
Right. And I think with success also, like if sometimes it is unexpected success that you get, and then it is very difficult to manage because it was really unexpected for you.
Yeah,
at that
of
point
course.
time.
How do you manage your mental state there? How do you stay grounded? How do you surround yourself with people who first are qualified, who know, and also they're not your yes men. They'll tell you honestly
Nice.
where you're failing. And also fear of losing something, like some actors are like, "Arey yaar, youth chala jayega mera, I'm getting older," right? I had a lot of
I think many of them also have their screen time.
yeah, of course. Fear of losing screen time,
Screen time.
fear of losing hair. All of these fears are there as an actor, and it's very interesting. For me, I think the biggest fear is not of failure but of success. People really self-sabotage because they come in their way. They almost feel like they don't deserve to have that success. It's a very complex fear.
And also, in one of the episodes, we also discussed about self-esteem, low self-esteem, in
Yes,
fact.
yes.
So, it is very difficult sometimes for people to understand a difference between a depression and a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And they get, and in this particular field, I have seen many people, they have complexity issues, or maybe they are not comfortable in some situations. The way we also discussed some time back कि हमको और लोगों को मिलना चाहिए because we will understand, but sometimes people set boundaries कि नहीं, this is, I am an actor, this is my lifestyle, this is how I am, that's it. So I think that also triggers somewhere, like when you get some characters where like you have to be there in.
Yeah, you have to be really malleable in the sense that if certain character or even just an audition also, I discovered this even while auditioning, that in some auditions I don't want to talk to people because it's important for me to focus. I have to focus, and my kind of default is that I need to zone in. But then there are auditions where it's important कि जब मैं बैठा हूँ वेट कर रहा हूँ तो मैं 4 लोगों से बात करूँ, so that my energy is up. So I discovered that while giving very early auditions that I was giving, that it's very important sometimes to get out of your comfort zone and push yourself to be talkative. तो मैं कभी-कभार ऐसा करता था, वो बहुत सारी बातें कर रहा होता था लोगों से, just because I wanted my energy to be on a certain level when I enter.
Thanks for sharing such personal experiences, and I want to also understand how is actors life as in like day-to-day activities, what they do in general.
They can be very varied, but hopefully if your processes are right, you want to have something like a voice warm-up in your daily routine. Hopefully you're doing something, you're working on your body. Like I'm doing Kalari right now with Kalari Warriors, and at the same time I'm doing movement with Soumya. So you're putting your body in different challenges. Hopefully you're working on script, at least giving 4 to 5 hours. If nothing else, you can do something like a script to screen, where you're reading a screenplay and then watching a film, and then seeing how is it translating. Sometimes actors make it better, and sometimes you read something and it's so good and you say, oh, what happened? When they made it, why didn't it turn out to be as good as it's on paper? You can also watch things like on mute, and you understand a lot about the technicalities of camera and editing. I think actors really need to educate themselves on editing.
Editing also, right?
Yeah, and also good writing. Once you are successful, it's very important to have a good screenwriter in your team. A lot of A-listers even now have managers as first point of contact, who don't know anything about script. So they get scripts, and I understand that as an actor you are very busy and you are not able to read all the scripts that are coming to you. So you need to have somebody on your team, maybe as a first point of contact, who has a great knowledge of of script writing,
Okay.
and who is the right person to then make those decisions for you, whether you should do a film or not. But even early on, I think people should read a play at least a week. One play a week is what I'd recommend to my students, because you need to understand writing styles.
Right.
I cannot approach an Imtiaz Ali film the way I will an Vikramaditya Motwane film. Not some Vishal Bhardwaj has written it differently. So I need to understand how to approach different directors and writers. For that, I need to know the writing style. I need to know the tempo. कि किस tempo में लिखा गया है. How important is every word? Like if I am giving an audition for Richie Mehta, I will not improvise a single line.
Okay.
Even if I have to make sense of it in a different way, because I know he will not like that. And if he has given me a script, it's very, very specific. But I don't have to worry at all if I am auditioning with Vikramaditya Batwane or Anurag Kashyap about lines. I can improvise.
Okay.
Because they want to see something else. They want to see if I'm truthful, if I'm in the moment, if I'm fun, and how free I am, basically. They want to see freedom. So every director will have a different approach. I need to prepare myself accordingly.
Right.
And for that, I need to understand script on a good level also.
So as you mentioned about having a manager or someone in your team, तो वैसे और कौन होना चाहिए? Like, what do you think in an actor's team who can be there?
See, firstly, manager I would only recommend if you don't have time to read all the scripts.
Okay.
Otherwise, initially you never think about having a manager on your team. When you start getting good work, when you reach a certain level, then a manager makes sense. A lawyer also can make sense at that point to go through contracts, to put in the right kind of clauses. But initially, what I recommend my students is, very importantly, have a therapist, have a good therapist.
Okay.
Where you are having, say, weekly or bi-weekly sessions. That I feel is very, very important. Having a masseuse or a masseur is very important. Getting massages. You're working out and you need to have a free body.
Right.
And a nutritionist, I think, helps a lot. Just making a diet plan which works for you and where you're not killing yourself or depriving yourself.
Right.
And I think these are the top three that I think of. Once you become good at your job, having an acting coach really helps. Once you know what you're doing. Acting coaching is not something that you do when you don't know acting. So when people approach me and they have not learned acting, it's not the most ideal setup to learn.
Okay.
Unless you're preparing for a certain project, then obviously, then we have personal sessions. Otherwise, acting should be learned in a group to begin with. It's so important. In my class, in a 3-hour class, sometimes you're sitting for 2.5 hours and you're performing only for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And a lot of people can be like, what's the deal about that? Why am I sitting and watching? But you learn a lot by sitting and watching other people, because then you can relate, okay, where are you struggling and others are finding it easier, or where you are finding it very easy but others are struggling.
Okay.
And that kind of learning is very important. And my students sit like a hawk, watch very, very closely every moment, because that's the smallest unit of acting. Smallest unit of acting is moment. And so we learn how to play a moment in an anticipated way, in a truthful way, in a free way. So I think acting coach at some point is very important. It can change your career. A lot of people in Mumbai don't talk about acting coaches for some reason. They have this perception, they want to propagate this theory that मैं खुद कर लेता हूँ. But किसी भी professional उसमें, like Sunidhi Chauhan still has somebody who, Celine Dion, for example, said in an interview, she has a vocal coach. Right? Like, why does she need a vocal coach? But she has a vocal coach.
At every stage of your life, you need someone to correct you.
Not
or maybe guide you, or just be there to...
Yeah, just to work off also. And yeah, sometimes to give you a unique point of view. That's very important. And I think in A-listers, only Ritik is somebody who's vocal about having an acting coach. Vijay Sethupathi now is vocal about having an acting coach. On Jawan said, now somebody like Vijay Sethupathi, who's such a good actor, and he had an acting coach on set, and a lot of people don't want to accept that for some reason, because they want to tell people, oh, I can do it myself. Nobody tells me. And they keep it a secret also. So much so that even in their contracts or even in the invoices that they give to their acting coaches, they don't let them write acting coach.
Okay.
But I find that very unnecessary and ridiculous, because it's a profession at the end of the day. I have a few people around me who I will work with for every audition. Not every audition, but most auditions I will work with a few of my friends. Any play I'm doing, I have a couple of friends who are like my acting coaches. Okay. I will sit with them, I will discuss my choices or what this demands. And that's very important to me. Without them, and I'm an acting coach myself, but I also need a second, third opinion.
Right.
And I need somebody to tell me, no, this is not sounding right. I had a very important audition recently where I was working so much on the accent and what the brief I was given, that I was not taking choices, which I generally take.
Okay.
The script work was lacking. And on the day of the audition, I had a friend very objectively tell me, no, it's not sounding right because everything is sounding the same. I'm like, okay, so I have to just put in the work. And we discussed some choices, and then it was much more fun. The audition was much deeper for me.
Okay.
So and it changes careers really. If you look at somebody like Matthew McConaughey, for example, the kind of films he was doing earlier, if you see How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and things, very commercial films he was doing when he started his career.
Right.
And then he made a decision. For 2 years, he was at home. He was not getting any work because he kept turning down commercial films. He got an acting coach, and look where his career is now. He did stuff like True Detective, Dallas Buyers Club. Everything has happened after that.
Right.
And what an actor now. And so he made that conscious choice. It was a big risk on his part, because he just had his daughter.
Right.
And so he needed the money. But he took that decision, and it changed his life. So it's very important to know that. Right. Who else can be on an actor's team apart from this? I mean, I cannot stress enough the importance of a therapist. A lot of people are lazy. I was also lazy in the beginning when my teacher told me to get it. Terry Knickerbocker, he is my acting coach. When he told me to get a therapist, for the first 7 months, I was lazy. And also people have notions, right? They say, there's nothing wrong with me mentally. So why? There's a taboo to it still. Although it's going every day, people are more concerned about mental health. But it's not just about mental health that we need a therapist. When I came to India, the first place I went to, they're like, what's wrong? What's the problem? I said, there's no problem. My personal life is amazing, professional life is amazing. Like, why do you need a therapist? I said, because I need to build a team from scratch.
Okay.
Somewhere I can talk to and I can understand because part of my job is really understanding myself really well.
Just because I am from digital background, so I would like to add one more point where I think these days social media presence is also equally important. Yeah. So, मतलब अगर उनको खुद को time नहीं है, maybe they can hire someone, or maybe they can have a free.
Like me, I need to hire someone. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you can actually have a freelancer or someone at a beginning, or depending upon your choices.
Yes.
Now it's a time to let's move on to our next segment, which is called Swanky POV segment, where we will be actually experimenting something different today, and I would like your insights on whatever things are going to happen around.
Cool. Yeah.
Hi Akshay, welcome to our show. I know you know him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's Akshay Raj Javrani, and talking about acting field, so he had done his MBA in construction, right?
Yes,
and he moved to acting field in 2018.
Correct.
Right? Precisely.
Yeah.
And I think Raghav, आप बताओ इनके बारे
में. He studied with me first in the lockdown.
Yeah, 2020.
2020
Lockdown.
And he was very, very calm. He has, by the way, done Vipassana.
Yeah, I have seen a few of his
Yeah, I keep hosting
for
few
Brahma
podcasts,
Kumaris
yeah,
and
for
the
them as
spiritual.
well. Correct.
Yeah, but he has a very strong practice in that sense, and so it was great to see his growth. We did an online batch, by the way.
Okay.
He was in Lucknow at the time.
Okay.
His hometown, and it was incredible. It was just like a small screen, and he's in his room, and there were 6-7 other people.
Okay.
And we were doing Meisner, and it was great to see his growth at that time, from someone who in life is so calm, and then I think you should talk about how Meisner, which is such a reactive sort of a technique, impacted your work.
Correct. So I did the course. I was free in lockdown. I didn't want to like sit back. People were sleeping late. I wanted to use it for something good. So I came across this workshop, and I used to love doing workshops. I did many workshops before as well, but this was different because it was online. I didn't expect much, but it turned out to be really good. I mean, in Meisner, you have to put all your focus on the other person and read them basically. Even if they're not saying, they speak a lot through their body. So you have to read their body language. So when we were connected through the phones, we could actually see them only and not anyone else. So basically it worked really well.
Okay.
And like he said, like I used to be a very calm person, and I didn't know how to maintain that line, because I got introduced to spirituality as well. When I came to acting, I got introduced to spirituality, which made me a very calm person. So then when I had to go on stage and to get the emotions of anger or something which I'm working on as in spirituality, I'm not allowed to like feel that much of anger because I'm focusing on that. So then it was a problem. I used to fake it sometimes. This technique made me basically get a lot of understanding about myself, what triggers me, because we have to work on each emotion. Particularly, we are working every day. We have to find how to reach the maximum of that emotion from daydreaming, which has not occurred in our lives. We have to make up situations which make us feel that emotion. So it made me understand a lot about myself as well. And then to maintain that line, whether I'm on stage, not to hinder those emotions. Like emotions are coming, but reaction is in my hands.
Right.
If I'm not in front of a camera or not on stage, I can choose not to react and to respond. But then when I'm in front of camera, then that reaction is coming, so I can react truthfully. So that was very nice, and I still, if I get time, I keep doing those techniques, that exercises, repetition exercise, which is very important. So it keeps me in the loop.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to understand why you chose acting as a profession.
Yeah. So basically, I was into MBA, I was into constructions. So I got bored doing that. It became very monotonous. So to switch, I just wanted to come and do a few courses. I didn't want to just jump into acting because people used to say you're good looking, you should go and act. So I didn't. In 2017, if someone would have said, if you want to do acting, I would have said, no, are you crazy? So 2018, I came, I didn't think that I'm going to do acting. I did a few courses. 2020, again, I did a course when I was in lockdown. So gradually it came up to me, and gradually work started coming. So I enjoyed this field. I saw the growth happening inside of me. So, which is why I chose this field. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me like, whenever I'm playing a character, I really like to think according to that. Like it makes me like explore a lot of things. You have to meet people, you have to put yourself in difficult situations and out of your comfort zone, which really is wonderful for me to like experience all that.
Right. And as you mentioned, you have also attended multiple workshops.
Correct.
तो मुझे ये जानना है, I mean, this question goes to both of you. How you have seen him before the techniques that you taught him and after, and similarly for you.
I'll go first. So then every technique that I've learned, I can't say that 100% I've taken from that technique. Every technique teaches me some things which I incorporate, and at the end it's your method. When you are on the stage or in the front of camera, whatever works for you, you're gonna do that. So whatever works for me, I keep it I practice that. Like in Meisner, my listening has become a lot better.
Okay.
So even if listening will be used anywhere, like if I'm doing a scene, listening has to be there. Otherwise, you're not truthful. You're not present in that moment. No matter how much you have prepared, if you have come in front of camera and you're not listening to the other actor, then people say that you're not reacting, like you're not present there.
Right.
So it has made my listening a lot better, which I can, like, I focus all the preparation I have done. I leave it when I enter a scene or something, and then I focus on the person.
Right.
So that truthful, the behavior, the truthful responses which comes from listening only.
Right.
So that has improved a lot.
And sorry to cut you, but listening is not something only verbal listening.
Correct.
So people
Body
they
language.
body language. And what if the other person is not saying something and just being there?
Yeah.
And how do you decode what is going on in his mind?
When you truly focus your concentration on the other person, even if they're not saying the body language, the way of speaking, the way they're speaking to you, the way they're reacting can tell a lot of things that they're, and then you take that in. Then you let them affect you.
Right.
So all these things I did it again when I liked it so much in the lockdown that I came back and I wanted to do a personal workshop with him. So I did it again. I have done it 3 times.
Yeah, he's done the workshop 3 times,
Wow.
which is incredible, and
Yeah.
in person twice. And
Yeah.
every time there has been.
Every time I've learned different things.
Right.
It's not that first time I did it, so I learned everything. So every time I discover different things. Like there is a thing which I learned in the 3rd time when I did that. He tells something about making images and then leaving those images at a certain point, not overthink it, because then if you overthink it, then it might become, when you go on stage or in front of camera, it might not work that better. So you know when to leave it and just revisit it just before the shot so that it ignites. So I reached that point where I knew that now it's working for me, now I have to leave it. Now I'll revisit it when I'm just before 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So every time you do it, you get to learn something new.
I think he's covered most of it. I did not know about the fact that how you discovered your aptitude for it, and I think he finds a lot of joy. We're even performing a play together, which we do, which is called Bullshit Jobs.
Okay.
So we have a lot of fun. It's a fun play there as well, and I think he's a very good practitioner of even the advanced work. He recently did a script analysis workshop with me, which was focusing on Stanislavski, but he had fun doing that as well. So what I see is somebody who has a lot of aptitude, who is very sharp, and it's very interesting to see the balance he maintains between his life outside of acting, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we just become actors and this is the only thing I think about, the only thing I work on. So I think it's very important that he, in a way, what I learned from him is that there can be 2 aspects, not just the acting aspect.
Right.
And as an actor, I think that's a very good challenge also. Can we be thin-skinned on stage and in front of the camera, but then thick-skinned? I mean, by thick-skinned, I mean when we choose to respond and not just react.
Correct.
But I remember his growth in the very first workshop online. The first week, he's calm, and 3rd week he's throwing his chair in the room, not like.
With that, emotions used to come up, but as I said, I was into spirituality and meditation, so I used to block them somehow.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to overpower that emotion. I didn't want them to overpower. But then I maintained because I have to be in this field as well. So then I know when to react and when not to. So that had to be worked upon. So it's a little work that I put in that. And another work that whenever a script comes to me, so usually we tend to think on the first or the second choice. Most actors will send the takes thinking they'll just read, and whatever the first choice, it'll come in their mind and they'll record and they'll send. So mostly the directors are used to getting the same kind of takes.
Right.
So with this also, when I did the advanced workshop with him, so we sat on choices. We sat on every line. There can be different choices. Every line can be having 10 choices. So if we are taking different choices, the scene can go anywhere.
Right.
Even we are not aware. When we are first reading, we can't be this scene has to be done this way, because that's not how it can be done. There are a number of ways it can be done. So that also how to do a scene in 10 different ways and not be predictable. So that is another thing.
Yeah, because it's the advanced work is a lot about, like, the first half, the Meisner, and it's a lot about freedom, but the advanced work is a lot about not just hitting one note, like the whole scene. And yes, you can have a simple objective in a scene which is consistent throughout the scene, but not just hitting one note.
Right.
The whole scene can't be just me getting insulted and me protesting that insult. There needs to be variety. There needs to be more flow, and I think we have done that quite a bit in not just the workshop, but even in our plays that we have done together.
Nice. And I really like that fact that it's not only, I mean, not that you. So I really like that fact कि आपने multiple times same workshop किया. Somewhere like people have that understanding that कि हाँ मैंने एक बार एक syllabus कर लिया हो गया. But it is not that. Because every time when you have workshops, you meet different people.
Correct.
Different mindsets, wavelength or vibes they have.
You are at a different space also,
Right.
stage.
You learn a lot from people around you.
Right.
Like 7-8 people doing different things. It's just not when you are doing it you learn. You just by watching also you learn so many things that, oh, this is a nice choice that this person took. This can be done in this way as well. What that person is going through, because everyone's upbringing is different. Everyone will do that scene differently. So you get to learn a lot by watching also.
So also, I want to ask, how important is it to have fun on stage when we are performing?
A lot, because when we have fun, the audience will have fun. So
right.
There's a play that we do, Bullshit Job, that he mentioned. So I joined late in that play. They had done the play a few times and then someone was replaced and I joined in and then we were doing it. So I had fun. But then after a point, when you do certain performances repeatedly, so you kind of get stuck because the audience is enjoying. So you are taking the same choices because the audience enjoyed last time. So we kind of were taking same choices. So then we were not having that much fun that we had the first time.
Right.
So then we went back to it, like we made different choices, we sat on it and then we broke the rhythm, like we broke everything, like we did bad acting. So in rehearsals, like in rehearsals we did bad acting so that it broke the set pattern that we had to speak a dialogue in a certain way. And there are certain things that we did, like in the workshop also, while learning the lines, there are 2 or 3 things that we do while doing some physical exercise, like doing push-ups and then speaking the line, so it breaks the patterns. So we did all that, we went back to the stage and then there were new moments discovered. Very new moments were discovered because then we had this mindset that we're not going to repeat what we did, we'll just have fun. If you can share.
The play he's talking about, there was a very one peculiar moment. We showed up for rehearsal, a run through, one day before our show. We were doing the show in Kala Ghoda Festival, and the last time we had done it, it was mechanical. And that day also we were, I think after lunch, a little tired. So we did a run through of about 40-45 minutes. And you know, as an actor, you also know when you feel कि ठंडा है यार ये, ठंडा चल रहा है. Because हम लोग वही चीज़ कर रहे हैं. We are showing up, हम लोग story बता रहे हैं, but it's not.
Audience is enjoying as well, but then something is missing.
Something is missing. And it's not working for us. So we did one rehearsal where we decided to do loud acting, like, you know, exaggerated. So we did 40 minutes, high energy, loud acting, and it freed us.
Okay.
Because again, we went back to being a child again.
Right.
And so I think a lot of times as actors, we end up missing that ultimately we have to play. It's called a play.
Right.
And we have to be in a playful space.
Right.
And we have to be willing to be wrong, because that's how you define creativity, right? Willingness to be wrong.
Wrong.
And if you don't have that, if you want to do it right, then it becomes boring after a while. So I think that is a lot of fun, and I think that's the charm of theatre also.
Yeah.
That because we did that play in front of like 250 people that day. And we had fun, and then 2 months later we have to do it in Prithvi in front of 100 people and 150 odd people.
Yeah, completely.
And completely different experience.
And I'm really amazed the way you have told me कि है ना same चीज़, I mean the repetition normally उससे भी लोग बोर हो जाते हैं, and you're inculcating बहुत सारे नए techniques, not even to learn acting, to break the monotonous pattern. Right? Yeah. So thanks Akshay for coming over, and thank you so much Raghav. So Raghav, how was the Swanky POV segment for you?
I really enjoyed it. I think it gives a very good understanding of what we are talking about, and also the kind of work that I'm doing and I believe in. I'm very happy to hear Akshay talk and the impact that it had on his journey, and that kind of inspires me also.
Great.
Seeing the journeys and the growth.
So you can actually get in touch with Raghav. He will definitely help you out in any issues or maybe any help you need in your acting journey.